Before we examine the evidence, log your existence, subscribe, mark your coordinates and time in the comments. Now, observe. The sun beats down. The dust hangs heavy. 100 million years ago. North Africa cooks. This is a crime scene. A prehistoric autopsy. We investigate Carcharodontosaurus, a titan. Its bones tell a story. Immense power. Immense hunger. This predator weighed more than 6 metric tons. Its skull, longer than a man. Its teeth, serrated blades. This was not a gift. It was a debt. A biological mortgage, paid daily in flesh. The ecosystem was a vast caloric engine, running on green, converted by enormous sauropods. Paleontology, a 60-ton walking protein factory. These giants formed the foundation, the bottom layer, a constant, flowing buffet. The pristine equation was simple. More prey, more predator. An intricate, brutal dance. Success bred specialization. Apex status meant total dependence. An isolated peak. The fossil record is clear. Worn tooth enamel. Fracture patterns on prey bones. The energy flow was immense. Unbroken, for now. But such a pristine equation is fragile. A single variable altered. A slight disruption. The base of the pyramid shifts. The colossal debt remains. The impossible payments stop. The metabolic furnace demands. But the fuel is gone. What happens then? We see the signs. The system is balanced. For now. A fragile equilibrium. Deep time is relentless. Change is the only constant. The scales will tip. The foundation will crack. The apex predator, alone on its peak. The caloric imperative is absolute. A 6-ton engine demands fuel. Constant, unrelenting. We track the energy transfer. From sun to plant. From plant to grazer. From grazer to predator. Carcharodontosaurus sat atop this food chain. A biological machine built for extreme consumption. Its immense bulk, a monument to the era's abundance, but also a ticking clock. A vulnerability. Paleontological data reveals the scale, teeth scars on gigantic sauropod vertebrae, evidence of massive kills. The daily intake for such a beast was astronomical. Thousands of pounds of meat. We estimate the energy required simply to maintain body temperature. To move. To hunt. A silent, grinding cost. Every day. Paid in warm blood and torn flesh. This was nature's calculus. A cold, unyielding equation. The North African ecosystem provided lush riverine forests. Vast floodplains. Home to herds of enormous herbivores. Like the colossal Paraletitan, a walking mountain of calories. The prey was plentiful. The payment could be made. For generations, the system seemed robust, unbreakable. But a system built on excess fails spectacularly in scarcity. The very specialization that enabled its reign became its undoing. Adaptability withered. The biomass at the bottom was the true currency. The foundation. If that currency depreciated, the entire structure trembled. The geological record whispers of shifts, subtleties, slow burn changes, climate dynamics, hydrological cycles. The very green engine that fed the giants began to falter. A slow erosion. The river deltas might shrink. The plant matter would diminish. First subtly, then catastrophically. The giant sauropods, the calorie factories, would feel it first. Their numbers would thin. Their bulk, once their strength, would become a burden. Then the silence would descend, not with a roar, but with a whimper of starvation. For Carcharodontosaurus, the reckoning was coming. The debt collectors were already at the door. The ecosystem held its breath. The world breathes green. Sunlight fuels the base. A pyramid of life rises. This is trophic architecture. Predation's blueprint. We examine the fossil layers. They reveal a precise structure. Algae and plants, the primary producers. Their energy captured, transformed. Then, the primary consumers. The colossal sauropods, Paralititan, a walking reservoir of calories. These giants, the second tier, built for endless grazing, a vital link. Then, the apex, Carcharodontosaurus, a 6-ton engine of destruction, positioned at the very top. Its immense size was not an asset, it was a constraint, a metabolic straitjacket. This predator was specialized, engineered for one purpose: to convert enormous herbivores into its own massive bulk. The blueprint was efficient, brutal, unyielding. Its teeth, its musculature, every biological detail screamed specialization. A perfect hunter for an imperfect world. This architecture, however, was rigid. Its strength, its weakness. We see no redundancy, no flexible fallback. The caloric transfer was a one-way street, upward. Any disruption at the bottom meant a cascade failure, not a slow decline, a sudden crushing collapse. The green foundation, the plant matter, the primary currency, it had to flow, unceasingly. The geological record whispers of changing patterns, shifting wetlands, dying forests. The blueprint, once so robust, reveals its fatal flaw. The entire structure balanced on a knife edge. The giants at the top were the most vulnerable. Their grand design, their ultimate trap. The mandate was simple: consume or perish. The North African sun glares down. Rivers dwindle to muddy streaks. Parched earth cracks. Carcharodontosaurus operated on an absolute imperative. Its gargantuan body, a metabolic furnace, demanding constant fuel. Daily, thousands of pounds of living protein. We examine fossilized dentition, deep gouges on sauropod femurs, proof of this unceasing caloric grind. This was not an option. It was biological law. The apex predator specialization was profound. Engineered solely for large, slow-moving herbivores. The massive sauropods. Their biomass fueled the entire upper trophic levels. But the foundation now fractured. Paleontological evidence points to a decline. Changes in flora. Less green, less bulk. The primary producers struggled. The colossal plant eaters felt it first. Their herds thinned. Their numbers dropped. The caloric engine sputtered. For Carcharodontosaurus, the problem was existential. Its anatomy was a fixed-cost operation, too big to shift its diet to smaller, faster prey, too specialized to adapt. Its evolutionary design, once its greatest strength, now its inescapable prison. The giants could not downsize. They could not change their mandate. The slow, relentless death spiral had begun. The ultimate hunter, caught in its own trap. The food web's collapse was now an inevitability. The river runs low. Mud cakes the banks. The green canopy thins. This is the primary sustenance, life's fragile base. We examine the paleobotanical record. Pollen grains, fossilized leaves. They tell a story of abundance. Once, lush river systems, vast floodplains, a tapestry of plant life. This was the fundamental currency, the raw energy, converted by photosynthesis, then consumed by the primary consumers. The colossal sauropods. Paralititan. Agirocasses. Their immense bulk, a testament to endless vegetation, millions of pounds of plant matter, devoured daily. We trace the carbon isotopes, a direct lineage, from ancient flora, to herbivore bone, to predator tooth. The evidence is undeniable. The giant predators like Carcharodontosaurus were entirely dependent on these vast green pastures. The entire trophic architecture built upon this singular foundation. But the bedrock shifted, the climate cooled, rainfall patterns changed, the water receded, the green engine faltered. The very plants that fed the colossal herbivores began to diminish, not overnight. Slowly, insidiously. The fossil record indicates periods of drought, areas once lush, now barren. The foundation eroding, grain by grain. The colossal sauropods, the calorie factories, were the first to feel it. Less food, fewer offspring, thinner herds. Their numbers dwindled. The primary sustenance, once limitless, now finite. The caloric payments to the apex predators became erratic. The system was failing. From the ground up, the hunger would begin at the bottom, but it would finish at the top. The giants' time was running out. The ground shudders, not from earthquakes, from a slower, deeper tremor. Resource erosion. The great riverbeds lie exposed, a skeletal network of dried mud. We analyzed the stratigraphy. Layers of sediment, they record a brutal shift, a changing world. The wet season shortens, the dry season lengthens. Water, the ultimate currency, it dwindles, evaporates. This subterranean tremor undermined the entire ecosystem. The lush plant life, once boundless, suffered. Hydrocarbon analysis of ancient soils confirms the decline in organic matter. Less growth, less biomass. The gargantuan sauropods felt the pinch first. Paralititan. Agirocasses. Their massive bodies, once fueled by endless green, became a liability. Less water meant less vegetation. Less vegetation meant less sustenance for herds numbering in the thousands. Their colossal appetites now went largely unsatisfied. The debt of gigantism. It compounds daily. For the herbivores. For the carnivores. The collapse began subtly. A slow burn. Not a sudden impact. This was no asteroid strike. It was a systemic failure. The base of the pyramid eroding. Quietly. Relentlessly. We see the evidence in bone morphology. Signs of malnutrition. Stunted growth in later fossil horizons of the sauropods. A clear forensic trail. The victims were starving. Long before their final demise. For Carcharodontosaurus, the signs were dire. Fewer sauropods. Emaciated prey. The caloric imperative remained absolute. But the supply chain was broken. The apex predator now stared into the abyss. Its immense power, useless against a world that simply had nothing left to give. The plains are quiet. Too quiet. A silence descends. The vast herds once thundered. Now only dust devils dance. This is the prey deficit, a system starved. We track the numbers. The fossil layers reveal a brutal decline. Fewer sauropod remains. Less density. Smaller individuals. The caloric engine of North Africa sputters. It threatens to stop. Carcharodontosaurus. The apex. Built for abundance. It's 6 metric tons. A biological monument to plenty. Now, a crushing weight. A burden. The gargantuan Paralititan. Its primary prey. its numbers dwindle. This is no hunting challenge. It is an absence, a mathematical void. The energy flow reversed. Starvation begins from the bottom up. We examine ancient tooth wear, stress fractures on predator bones, evidence of desperate hunts, failed attempts, malnutrition, the giant killer, unable to adapt. Its body, specialized for massive meals, cannot survive on scraps, cannot pivot to smaller, swifter targets. The caloric imperative, unmet, daily, relentlessly. The once dominant predator, its reign built on easy calories, now faces an enemy without teeth, without claws, just an empty landscape. The system cracks, not a bang, a slow, agonizing whimper. The predator is isolated, marooned, on an island of hunger. The specialized giants, the most vulnerable. Their size, their undoing. Nature's filter is unforgiving. It purges the inflexible. The debt of gigantism now comes due. The ecosystem prepares its final autopsy. The last hunt fails. The mighty jaws snap on empty air, a 6-ton silhouette, growing thinner. This is the hunter's famine, an upward cascade. The North African sun bleeds from a landscape of rust and cracked earth. The once mighty rivers, mere scars, the green, gone, vanished. Carcharodontosaurus, the dominant predator, now a victim. Its vast energy demands, its extreme specialization, once marks of supremacy, now a death sentence. We trace the fossil record, the final chapters. Fewer predator remains, scattered, isolated, no mass grave, just individual disappearances. The evidence suggests no epic battle, no superior foe. Simply a starvation, a slow grinding end. The food web, it collapsed from the bottom, upward. The primary producers diminished. The massive herbivores, Paralititan, faded. And then, the apex, with no large prey. Its specialized form was useless. It could not hunt smaller, swifter targets. Its physiology, too big, too slow to adapt. It simply starved. The mighty Carcharodontosaurus, a monument to a lost age of plenty, now a ghost in the geological layers, its fate sealed, not by violence, but by thermodynamics, the caloric chain, broken. Its immense bulk, once a symbol of power, now a burden, an insurmountable debt. The silence falls. The desert wind whispers its epitaph. The trap of gigantism had sprung. It caught the biggest, it caught the strongest, it showed no mercy. The future waits, with its own brutal lessons. The air is still. A skeletal forest. Dead rivers. The last giants fall, unwitnessed. This is nature's purge, the final attrition. We examine the late Cretaceous strata. A clear demarcation. The massive bones of Carcharodontosaurus, of Paralititan. They vanish, abruptly, not to violence, not to a rival, to an empty larder. Their disappearance, a forensic signature, of a system starved, the North African superpredator, built for an age of plenty, became a casualty of its own success. Its gigantism, its undoing. The evolutionary mechanics are brutal, unforgiving. Specialization meant efficiency for a stable world, but the world changed. The green base withered. The caloric imperative became impossible. the vast sauropod herds, their numbers decimated by drought, by famine. Their bodies, once fuel, became ghosts. The predator's debt mounted daily, without payment. We see no evidence of adaptability, no downscaling, no shift to smaller prey. The genetic blueprint was rigid, unbreakable, until it broke. The sun bakes the desert. The wind howls through dry canyons. The food web collapsed upward. The giants died in isolation, not in battle. Their immense power, their terrifying jaws, useless against an empty landscape. The system reset, brutally, efficiently. The niche vacated, the energy pipeline severed. The purge was complete, a devastating autopsy on an entire era. What emerged from this ecological vacuum? That is another case entirely. The Earth always starts fresh. It always finds a way. Through the bones, through the dust settles. The silence is profound. The giants are gone. This is the scavenger's inheritance. Post-collapse biology. We survey the geological layers above the Grand Age. A brutal discontinuity. The mighty Carcharodontosaurus. The colossal Paralititan. Their immense forms erased. Not by a meteorite, by an empty world. This void speaks volumes. It screams starvation. We analyze the new fossil assemblages. Smaller predators emerge. Crocodilians persist. Adaptable, resilient. They endure, not through size but through cunning. Through a lower metabolic cost. They are not apex hunters in the old sense. They are opportunists, survivors. They pick at the remains. They thrive in the lean times. Their genetic code, flexible. Unburdened by the debt of gigantism, they inherit the sparse, broken landscape. The North African rivers, once arteries of life, now flow thinner. The forests, once vast, are fractured. The new ecosystem is a shadow, a stark reminder of nature's ruthless calculus. The old world demanded specialization. It rewarded scale. It built an empire of giants. Then it pulled the rug out. The truth is cold. The apex predator did not fall to a superior enemy. It starved, isolated. Its very design, a cage. Its extreme biological specialization, an evolutionary dead end. When the biomass vanished, it had no escape. The world reset. It purged the inflexible. It favors resilience, not raw power, not monstrous size. The ultimate lesson from deep time: survival demands flexibility.